WordPress has a homepage problem, and this is how we might go about fixing it. My name is Dave Smith, long-time WordPress contributor and Gutenberg core team member, and in this video I'll show you a working interactive prototype which showcases a vision for how we could make WordPress a lot simpler, especially around the difficult concept of setting a homepage. So if you're ready, let's dive in. So here we are in WP Admin in a default site install, and let's just remind ourselves how difficult it is to actually set a static homepage in WordPress today and how confusing this is. Now, some of you might already be quite experienced WordPress users, but bear with me and just refresh your brain about how complex this process is. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Appearance and Editor, and this is what users see by default. It's a list of their blog posts. And by default, we only have one, and it's called Hello World. Now, this is probably quite helpful if you're looking to set up a blog website. It's probably less helpful for websites, the more standard type of website, where you want to have a static homepage, which acts as a gateway to the rest of your website. Now, this is obviously due to WordPress's blogging heritage, but I think this now represents a barrier to entry for most WordPress users today. Let me show you what I mean. If I want to change this, I have to go to Pages. I then have to notice that there's no home page, which seems like a strange concept. So I create a home page. It will only create a draft by default. And so the next thing I need to do is actually publish that home page before I can do anything else. Once it's published, I dismiss that. Once it's published, I can then see the home page in our pages listing here. But that's not enough. That's not going to set it as the homepage in WordPress. And the reason is because we need to change the reading settings. That's quite a confusing concept for most beginner users. They don't understand what a reading setting is. So I have to actually go here out of the site editor. I have to go to reading here. I then have to know that your homepage display setting has to be set to static page. And I have to select my homepage as the homepage. Bear with me. I then save, I then click Appearance and then Editor to go back into the editor. And now, all being well, that home page is now set as my home page. But what we see is this. What am I looking at here? It's just a blank page with the word home on it. Where's my header? Where's my footer that we saw when we first opened this default site? Well, what's actually happening here is the site editor is only rendering the page content. It isn't rendering the template, the outer chrome of the website that's used to control the rendering of that page. So I actually have to turn that on, would you believe? I have to go to this sidebar and I have to go Show Template. And only once I've done that does the header and footer actually appear. And now I can sort of think about editing my website. Now, if I actually go into this page, what you'll notice that we do have these two elements already here. And this is another problem with WordPress themes or WordPress core today, is that out of the box, we're actually using a page template that assumes that every single page you create, including your homepage, might want to use a standard layout, which includes a featured image and a page title. So that might be great for a privacy policy page, but for most pages on most websites these days, I think we don't generally tend to have this kind of layout. It tends to be quite custom and you're adding different sections. But unfortunately, you can't remove these from this screen. You can't do it. There's no delete option. If I add a new block, Hello World, another one, I can delete these ones. So why can't I delete these two? Well, as I said, it's because they're part of the template that's being used to render this page. And the template can only be edited by going to Edit Template. And at which point I can then decide and elect to remove these templated elements. And then once I'm done with that, I can save. And I can then go back. And at that point, now I've got sort of a placeholder where I can start adding the sections to my website. But that's an enormous number of hurdles I have to jump through just to get to a point where I can create a homepage by adding blocks to it. which I assume is what most people would want to do. So that's the friction that exists today. So let's have a look at how we might be able to resolve some of this. Here we are in an interactive prototype of the site editor, reimagined and redesigned around what users want to do rather than how WordPress is built. And I've covered this prototype in more detail in this other video, which I'll link down below in the comments. So please check that out as well. But we're going to focus on how we're dealing with the homepage problem. And the way that we're proposing to solve this issue is that we lean into the idea that most websites will probably want a static homepage set by default. So in our prototype, we have the ability to set those reading settings directly from within the site editor. And by default, you can see that it's coming pre-created with a home page pre-created and a blog page pre-created. And the editor and the WordPress is set to use a static page on front by default. So in this vision, when you install WordPress from the get-go, you are already ready to, with your static homepage from the start. You are not trying to undo WordPress's default blogging mechanic. The second way we are dealing with this is that we are leaning into the idea of something called a universal canvas. At least that's the idea that we've been giving it. And the idea here is that we always show the template that surrounds the page content. So let me show you what I mean. If I go into edit this, what we've actually got here is the page content here, which are these sections, but we've also got a footer and a header, and these are coming from the page template. But I don't have to go into a different context to edit these. They are all just editable in line. And what we do is we give subtle affordances to sort of hint to the user that they're about to edit something that's global in nature. And in fact, the first time we do this, as you're about to see, it's a bit more explicit. So if I want to edit my header and I click here, you'll notice that the other blocks have now been faded back and the focus is very much on this header section here. And you can make your edits, and when you're done, you have to explicitly exit to be able to edit the rest of the content. And that is because it's giving you a clear hint that you are now editing something that is global. Whereas if you edit this and edit this, there's nothing stopping you making the edits because they're local to the home page. So in this view, we never get into that situation where you just get a blank screen with the home page title. Everything always shows in full context. And the last way that we're thinking about addressing this is that we're added this item to the sidebar, as you can see here, called home. And this really acts as the anchor point for the user. You know that when you click home, you will always get back to what is currently set as the home page of your website. So let's just, for example, say that we did set up our website to show latest posts on front, and we can do that in this prototype. So let's set it up again. So now we are showing our blog listing, like I showed you on the WordPress default install. We are showing the blog listing on front. And if I click, let's click away quickly to navigation, click back on home, we see that that is what we see now. We are seeing what is currently set as showing as home on your website. And you can edit that template and you can drop directly in to edit that from here. And if I decide, actually, no, I do want a static page again, I can go back and home will always show that. So leaning into these three key tenets, which is defaulting to a static home page, a unified editing canvas, and lastly, a clear anchor point always present in the navigation, we believe that we can solve a large amount of the friction and complexity that current WordPress introduces around the concept of home. So what do you think? Do you think this could make WordPress easier to use for the majority of people? Or do we need to respect more WordPress's blogging heritage? Let me know down below in the comments, and also be sure to check out the pinned comment where I'm going to have a link to this demo, which you can try out for yourself. Also, I'd be really grateful if you would just hit that like button. It really does help. And if you're looking for more content like this, looking into the future of WordPress and the site editor, then make sure you subscribe because there's going to be more videos covering this exact topic. Until next time, goodbye.